welcome back to another episode of Beers and Bandolores, the beer half of Throws and Brews. I'm going to talk a little about this new style called New England IPAs that, as far as I can tell, just came up in about the last year. I just recently discovered it around Thanksgiving time. A friend introduced me to the style, and so now I'm going to introduce you to the style. When we think about IPAs, at least here on the West Coast, we tend to think about stuff like Ninkasi Total Domination. So I'm going to pour this and give you an idea, just a refresher on what this looks like. When we pour this one, you've got this nice caramely color to it. And if you notice, it's clear. You can see my hand moving around in there. Any haze in there is because of the glare from the camera and everything. And so, but yeah, there you go. You can actually see my hand through that glass, no problem. And so when you go to sip on these, you get a lot of the flavor that you would expect from an IPA. You get a little bit of like grapefruit, a lot of pine and resin, and what a lot of people refer to as dank. Just that stereotypical hop flavor. And still one of my favorites. So nice and clear. Finishes a little bit more on the bitter end of it. If you remember from last time, bitterness is measured in IBUs. Ninkasi is 81 IBUs. So this one is really bitter, finishes really bitter, and it leaves that flavor on the back of your tongue when you finish off. So the new style of IPAs tried to do away with that. They're still very hop forward, huge hop aromas hitting you in the nose, but it doesn't leave that bitter flavor on the back. And so the IBUs come down, whereas the hop flavor actually goes up. And so a few examples that I brought today. This is a Portland brewery, Breakside, and their version of it is called What Rough Beast. And it's kind of a in-between the Northwest style and the full-on New England style. And I think that's just because they're a Northwest brewery just out of Portland, and they're used to doing the Northwest West Coast style. Then we've got Fort George, City of Dreams. City of Dreams there. And so this one is a new one from them. It just says Pale Ale on it. It doesn't even say India Pale Ale or New England Pale Ale or anything like that. Doesn't have the IBUs on here that I'm seeing, but we'll take a look at that one here in a minute. And then this one, I've never tried this one before, but if you notice, look at the sticker here, and then look where the top is. So this is like the extreme example of a New England IPA from what I understand. And so this one, it actually says here, brewed with flour, extra juicy mandarin oranges, and unfiltered hype. So, and so it also has lots of oats, flaked wheat, and stuff like that. So, whereas something like the Ninkasi, this one here, this one most likely is filtered. I didn't double check honestly, but to look like this, it's filtered. Plus, they tend to use more just like 2-row malt, caramel malts, things that the proteins in the haze really drops out really easily. And so those are the results there. It's clear. Once you start adding huge amounts of hops, I was reading a homebrewer's recipe where for a 5-gallon batch he was using almost a full pound of hops. I don't usually use that in a 10-gallon batch, and so that's a huge amounts of hops, and so you get all those particles and proteins and oils and resins and things like that that just stay floating in there. So let me open up the What Rough Beast and we'll look at that one. So there we go. We will see, you can already see that it's a little bit lighter with a little bit more haze there. And again, this is just an intermediary kind of form of the style. If you look there, see now, I can put my hand in front of it, It's much, much cloudier, much murkier. And so let me grab the Ninkasi here, and look at that difference there. So the lighting in here is terrible, so we're getting lots of reflection. But that's the Ninkasi here, super clear. That's the Breakside What Rough Beast. And so when we look at this one, I'm gonna have to just taste it. It's one of my favorite beers right now. Much more orange peel, and let's see. Yeah, definitely more citrus. Tropical fruits are really popular, so papaya flavors, pineapple flavors, things like that. And so different hops. I doubt you can see the chart back here, but it's kind of divided up into it. Whereas the Northwest style are going into these piney, resinous, spicy, herbal side over here. All of these New England styles are going into fruity and citrusy and stuff like that. So Citra, let's see here, Nelson Sauvin is another popular one, Equinox, Galaxy, all of those hops. If you want something that's going to be a little more tropical, you can look for those. So you get this here, and they're just putting huge amounts in the dry hop, plus they're adding things like oats and rye and things like that that really add that haze to it, that just doesn't ever suspend. And then they just leave it unfiltered. Still get some bitterness, you still get huge hop flavors, but I'm not getting any of that bitterness left on the edges of the back of my tongue. Try something like Port George Vortex or a Tricera hops from Ninkasi. A Sierra Nevada Torpedo is a West Coast but available on the East Coast, and those are all just super bitter beers that will leave that taste on your tongue there. So that's the What Rough Beast from Breakside, one of my favorites right now. If you can find it, try it. City of Dreams got it right side up that time. And this one gets even more cloudy and more hazy. Let me open that up. And I haven't done much research on these, haven't had the chance, but I had this on tap the other day at a local tap house, and it was just, it looked like orange juice. So, now, let me get my hand out of the way. Now look at that one. See, look at you can't see my hand through that at all. So we looked at that compared to, gotta keep my beers in order here. This is the What Rough Beast, and that's still pretty hazy. And then look at that one. There is a difference. It's hard to tell through my camera here, but you can tell that this one definitely looks almost a little bit more milky. Yeah, I'm just getting all fruity hops on the nose there, so I'm looking at lots of orange, lots of almost pineapple. This is my absolute favorite right now. And this one, I like this one because it still has a little bit of sweetness to it, but it still tastes like a beer. Some of these New England style IPAs, some of the big ones from, drawing a blank on some of them, I think it's Old Nation, 450 North, those things, if you ever get a chance, if you're back east, try those out. Because they look like you could stand a spoon up in them. Some of these even add lactose to them to sweeten them up, thicken them up, almost like a milk stout. And so some of these, if you see Milkshake IPA on it, it's actually got lactose in it, and that's going to be an extreme version, I want to say, of a New England style. But I don't have a lot of experience with these because there's not a lot we can get on the West Coast, or at least here in Oregon that I've found. I'm still digging though. So this one, super smooth. You can tell that there's some oats going on in there that gives it a thicker mouthfeel. Almost like a creamsicle or something. You get orange, you get some vanilla in there. Not a lot of carbonation. That just may be my pour, but it just makes this for this hugely smooth mouthfeel and zero bitterness on the finish. It's like drinking dessert almost, but not quite that sweet in a sickly way. Wish I could share these with you. I'm really curious about. It's called Forager East Coast Turbid IPA. So this they call it a Turbid IPA, but the same idea. This is by Trinity Brewing, Colorado Springs, Colorado. So not truly an East Coast brewery, but they're calling it an East Coast style. And right here, underneath, I'm going to turn it over this way. And they want you to have it upside down. It says, "This is not a misprint." And everything is turned upside down. So this one actually has fruit in it, so it's going to be even fruitier. It's got flour in it. It's got oats, flaked wheat, all things to add to the haze. And they jokingly say to put it in a paint can shaker for a bit before you pour it. But I'm just going to do a gentle pour because I don't want to explode in my face. Let's see what this one looks like. I'm going to be really disappointed if this one isn't super thick. Huh, not as much as I thought. Not as thick as I thought. So some of them, so there's this stuff in when you're brewing beer called Turbid. It's all the stuff that solidifies when you're brewing, and it usually sinks to the bottom if you treat the beer right, or if you filter, if you all sorts of things in the process of brewing. Get rid of this stuff called Turbid. And some of the New England styles, they look like they've got the Turbid still floating in them, the yeast matter, the hop particles, and things like that. This one, not so much. Still, pretty darn hazy. It's kind of been a bone of contention with these, is that most beer, in order to be considered quality in the craft brew world, has always been needed to be clear. And these, and the cloudy stuff always showed that you were rushing the process, you did something wrong, you were just kind of a lazy brewer. And drinking some of these New England styles, there's no way that's the case. These are amazing beers with amazing flavor that I would not fault at all. But there's still some bones of contention to it, especially when you start adding flour and things like that that you wouldn't add to a normal beer. So let me see. I'm excited to try this one. Nothing but oranges on that. That one almost just tastes like orange juice or grapefruit juice to me. A little bit of hops on the finish, a little bit of that piney stuff to it, but this is what they would call juicy. And that's kind of the goal of a lot of these New England styles, is to be juicy. And to me, when I drink a beer, I want to drink a beer. I want it to taste like beer. Otherwise, I'll drink screwdrivers, fuzzy navels, things like that if I want to drink juice. But this, it's still super tasty. But the only bitterness I'm getting from it is the bitterness that I would get no different than from like a glass of grapefruit juice. I definitely taste the tangerines and mandarin oranges and things in there. It smells wonderful. A lot of pineapple and things like that. So I've got, this is the haziest of the bunch here. And let's see here. Haziest of the bunch there. Pretty similar. That's the City of Dreams, Fort George. This one here, but this one definitely, the Fort George I enjoy it a little bit more. It's got more, it actually tastes more like a beer to me. All of those, I don't know if you can see those in the back, all the different colors and things like that. So, new style, try it out. The cans will say, the bottles will say Trinity here. This one, Haze Forager, or Hype Forager, excuse me. That one says East Coast Turbid IPA. City of Dreams just says Pale Ale on it. The What Rough Beast actually says specifically New England style on it. And so you're getting all of these on here. And the one really cool thing I really like about these, though, is how artistic they get. This one's kind of a New England style, but they take it to the next level. This one's got some wine grapes in it, and it's just amazing. If you can get Block 15, Painted Blanc is a really good one that's a little bit on the hazy side. But look at the artwork. This one here is a Modern Times, I think it is. Modern Times and, what is it, Great Notion. Look at the cans. So this is a work of art. You never see this. Nowhere on here, if you're not looking closely, you wouldn't know that this was a beer. The name of the beer is just in, you can't even see it. It's just right there. So just these beautiful cans here. This is an Ex Novo. Just the colors on it. And I made the mistake of recycling the rest of them. But if you see like a 16-ounce can that's just beautifully decorated and the label's just amazing, most likely it's going to be a hazy or New England style IPA. So, something that you guys should definitely check out. If you think you don't like IPAs, check out the New England style, because to me, you get all the hop flavor, but it's all fruity. You don't get the bitterness that a lot of people don't like, and they're just, like it says on all the cans and all the hype and everything, they're just juicy. These things are super smooth beers, and so now I gotta pick a Yoyo to pair with these. My first thought with these is that that they are super smooth. These are not ones that you gotta like take breaks from and stuff. And so 2 ideas for this one. My first idea would be to go something Delrin. And if you guys have ever played Delrin, they're super smooth and I love them. This is one of my favorite throws right now. It is the Yoyo Empire Ting, and beautiful H-shaped Delrin Yoyo. It just finger grinds like mad. It'll spin forever. It's got that beautiful blue finger spin cup in there. This is the only throw that I've ever been able to get a finger spin on. But the cool thing about this one is it's got titanium rings. I haven't been brave enough to spark it yet, but my kids keep telling me that I need to because they want to see it. So the Delrin Ting, or this is another fun one here, the SF Delrin. If you have not tried this one, if you look at the differences here, this one's a little more V-shaped, still got a little bit of H to it with the wide rims to it, but this one is full on H here. And H is my favorite shape, so that's one. Those are the 2 that I would recommend. But you got the Cabal too, that I was real tempted to pull out, because that's I gotta love the one drop there. They treat me well. So the Cabal is another Delrin that is just so smooth that I love it. Something responsive. If you don't have a deep state yet, get one. So this isn't an ad for One Drop. I am a fanboy, but the deep state is fun. So is the Gamer, if you need a responsive one. And the reason I think that I would recommend this one is because, and I don't have the frame here to show you and to demonstrate, but the cool thing about this is that you don't have to put your beer down. And so that's huge to me. So cheers. I'm gonna go throw a little bit, and I'm gonna drink all this beer because now it's open. I don't want it to go to waste. So happy throwing out there, guys, and I will see you next time. Cheers.